Want to be a part-time official Disney TikTok creator? If Disney's looking to dedicate talent to TikTok, why isn't your company? Stick around. We'll talk about it coming up right now on For Immediate Release. Another fine podcast from the FIR Podcast Network.
This is For Immediate Release, the podcast for communicators.
Hi, everybody. This is Shel Holtz.
And this is Neville Hobson.
And we're here today to talk about TikTok. Should you be on TikTok? Well, Disney wants to be on TikTok. They earlier this month announced that they're going to hire 2 TikTok creators in order to expand the Disney Parks experiences and products, that's the name of the group, social media presence. Officially, the job they're posting for is called a social media content creator. The job description calls for social media savants with experience in digital marketing, video editing, and an affinity for the Disney brand, including a passion for being in the Disney park. It also says they're looking for someone with a goofy attitude, literally. Most important, it says, is being savvy on TikTok trends. Disney Parks has about 8 million followers between TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and about half of them, 4.1 million, are on TikTok. That's the most of any of the platforms where people are following Disney. The job description says their goal is to find creative ways to build brand trust and loyalty with internal and external audiences, as well as achieve the greatest reach and shareability through compelling visual storytelling and content. It's a 12-month part-time gig, 29 hours a week, and you can do it from either Disney World in Orlando or Disneyland in Anaheim. So, Neville, TikTok already shows a listing of Disney influencers, but these aren't employees. These are just people who talk about Disney one way or another. And share that content. Several of them have tens of millions of views of their videos, but Disney's going after their own followers with their own TikTok content. What does that tell you about brands and TikTok?
Well, that's a good question, Shel. I'm not sure I've got a single answer to that. But in case of Disney, they are pretty embedded with TikTok. They're doing quite a bit with TikTok. They've got, for instance, text to voice tools that produce, you can create phrases with Star Wars characters, for instance, that you can then use in TikTok. So that's a really good indicator of the depth of the relationship. And there's a lot of other stuff going on between them and TikTok as well that suggests this is the most important social platform for them. But I'm intrigued. Yeah, I'm intrigued with this because something you mentioned caught my ear, particularly that these people they're looking for are part-timers, 29 hours. Are they actually employees, just part-time, or are they contractors, do you know?
I have no idea. I don't know what the relationship with employees working part-time, full-time, what that is at Disney. But it makes sense. I've been paying attention to TikTok since before most people had heard of it. I remember going to speak at conferences and I would ask how many of you have heard of TikTok, and not one person in the room raised their hand. This would have been 2016, 2017. But, you look at Instagram and Facebook and some of the other platforms out there, and the photos are heavily edited. There's a little quick text and a hashtag. With TikTok, you get to see real people with their faces and their real voices, and often filter-free. You're able to share those easily on other platforms. It really leads to some organic growth. Video completion, you're looking at data. Video completion is huge on TikTok, and they're building communities. There's, for example, business talk and brand talk are niche communities where people share tips. So it kind of makes sense, but I don't hear as much about brands being on TikTok as I do on Instagram.
No, possibly because not so many are on TikTok, or they're not being talked about, maybe. I mean, I'm curious about this because the article you shared that was published in CNBC talks about they're hiring a social media content coordinator, singular, but they then pluralize it by saying the chosen applicants would work. So there's more than one they're hiring. But to me, the intriguing thing, so they're looking for people they describe social media savants. I'm not quite sure what that is. Someone who's what, keen or experienced or evangelistic or
has a natural tendency to be able to do it really well.
Okay, so that's your interpretation of it. I don't know whether that would be mine. So it's not clear what it is. Someone, I guess, who's, as they then qualify it further, the biggest requirement for the role is the person is savvy on the platform's trends. So they need to be very clued in on the direction of TikTok, which suggests that they would need to know a lot about TikTok and how it works and their role and their presence there. So an affinity for that, affinity for Disney brand, experience in digital marketing and video editing. So basically someone who knows how to create content in the right way to promote, to use all of that as a way of engaging with the followers on TikTok. They will find somebody. There's people like that out there, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. And by the way, I looked up savant. It intrigued me that they used this word, and we're not agreeing on the definition. It's someone with detailed knowledge in a specialized field.
Okay. I think it's a French word, actually. I think it's a French word.
Oh, yeah, of course.
So the experience is to, it says support the widely popular Disney park accounts, and you mentioned some numbers on those accounts. Creative ways to build brand trust and loyalty. So, I mean, to me, it's like, okay, we the little I know about Disney is in this context is that they use social networks, social media, as a very effective way to engage with their audiences.
Oh, absolutely. I've been to conferences at Disney World. These are Reagan communication conferences on social media that Disney hosts. Tom Smith, who's one of the senior leaders of their social media team, always does a keynote at these things. And some of the things they do are just amazing on those blogs.
Yeah.
They really have this thing down pat.
Right.
But there just don't seem, I mean, there's a lot of brands being talked about on TikTok by, I guess you would call them TikTok influencers. Don't see a lot of brands there. I mean, you heard the Gatorade story, right? Oh, no, it wasn't Gatorade. It was cranberry juice. It was Ocean Spray. Okay. It was the guy who was driving the truck, I think, or I can't remember the details, but Ocean Spray was so taken with it that they gave him a lifetime supply or a year's supply. Got a lot of publicity for them, but I haven't noticed if Ocean Spray has created their own TikTok brand account since then, or just relying on influencers.
Yeah. So I guess the main thing about this story is the fact that these are employees, right? These are people who are part of the employee population doing this. Whether they're contracts or not, we don't know that. But they're not like hired as influencers, so-called, as an external resource.
And it's also not, the efforts of the Disney social media team are in large part designed to get the independent social media folks to talk about this stuff. And to share these images. They even have a special day where the influencers they've identified are invited out. They close the park to everybody else and just have the influencers in. And they were doing this before they were called influencers. I mean, they're certainly encouraging other people to create content, but TikTok, it seems like they absolutely want to have some control. I mean, how much control do you have? Somebody comes in with a phone and shoots a video and puts it on TikTok. I suppose they could ban you from the park for life. You did find that one article.
Yeah, so I mean, absolutely, it's a risky game. But that story you reference, I did come across this when I did a quick search. It was an employee who was fired earlier last year. Well, the article, I saw it on cinemablend.com for his TikTok videos. It's not quite as straightforward as that. But he was let go because he was doing things they didn't like very much. And that's on TikTok. So you've got what we're discussing about using employees or these roles they're trying to hire people for. And then on the other hand, you've got this that went on. That wasn't official. So that could be a control thing. I'm just wondering, is Disney, do you think, perhaps unique? And is this something others could emulate? If so, how could they emulate it?
Well, I think so. I think especially large companies that have social media teams that have the budget to bring somebody on to focus on a specific channel could do this. But you could also take the folks that you already have on the team and create some new responsibilities. Hey, there's a new platform. Let's repurpose some of this content on TikTok, or let's shift some of our focus to TikTok because we recognize that it has grown more important and influential.
I mean, it'll be interesting how this plays out. I mean, the article talks at some length about the knowledge of the platform and the benefits that would have to Disney if that individual or individuals are able to apply that knowledge to this particular role that they have in mind. It also talks about some of the things they'd have to follow at Disney, which I thought was strange the way they've mentioned it. But things like they've got to be vaccinated because Disney has a policy of all employees have to be vaccinated. Okay. And then talking about ensuring that they have a deep understanding of Disney, a passion for princesses, one of the phrases they got in there. So that implies, I've forgotten which the Disney princesses are, but I mean, there's lots of them.
Oh, Cinderella and Snow White and Sleeping Beauty. And
I was thinking more modern ones, actually. Yeah, you're right, Cinderella in particular. Frozen is a Disney
product? Anna and Elsa would definitely be considered Disney princesses.
In that case, it's fine. You've got to be up to date with all of that. So it's interesting how this is, and this article is quite recent, so we don't know where they're at with that. But it's certainly a good pointer, I think, to as you pointed out. I think you're right, of what others can learn from this experience, and maybe they could see a benefit for them, particularly large companies. It's not. Well, I'm about to say this is not really for small companies, but hey, why not? But it's really particularly of interest to large enterprises, I would say.
And reading the article about the ex-employee that is now banned from life, he was doing things like going into areas that were closed off and he shouldn't have been there. So sure. I don't think they were necessarily unjustified from doing this. But I am curious about their employee advocacy effort, if they are encouraging employees to post. Yeah. We've seen that with other organizations. I think it's Nordstrom that encourages its employees to post on Instagram. Are they starting to shift toward TikTok? I'd really be curious about that. And I'd be curious to know if Disney is doing some employee advocacy around that sort of thing.
Yeah, there might well be. I mean, we have the story of the guy who was hired by Walt Disney himself in 1954, making TikTok videos. So there's a good example. He's got a hell of a story. Bob Gurr, his name is, hired by Walt Disney himself in 1954, he says in the video, and he's there in this particular example that is published by TikTok. They promoted this, talking about how cool it was that A, he was hired by Walt Disney, and B, he's here to talk about it. And he talks that you get a good insight into how things were 50 years ago. He was there to help build Disneyland, to help develop Disneyland itself. And there he is. He must be a very sprightly late 80s, early 90s, perhaps. Great video. So that's done by, in fact, I'm looking at the video now. It's actually published by the Disney Parks account. So they did that. But TikTok promoted it. So it's another facet of another dimension, if you will, of how they do this. It's a great story.
Yeah. Disneyland opened, by the way, in 1955. I know that because it's the year my wife was born, and she constantly refers to the fact that she and Disneyland are the same age.
Well, it's a good story, and I think there are learnings here, without a doubt.
And that'll be a 30 for episode 218 of For Immediate Release.